from the effect on the children involved.
To blame, and so could be entitled to cash compensation. You might be out and about, at work, or in your car. The Accident Group specializes in personal injury compensation claims. It starts with one free phone call, and you could receive thousands of pounds in a lump sum cash payment. Call the Accident Group now, 0800 970 9000. Where there's blame, there's a claim.
I want you to run home, and I want you to call the ER of North Bank General Hospital, 932-1000. Tell them to set up OR6 immediately and contact anesthesiologist Isadora Turek, 472-2112, beep 12. KVO, you got it?
Sounds like a subdural hematoma to me.
Oh, it does it? Well, it's not your job to diagnose.
But I thought...
You thought, just go! 3 years of nursery school, and you think you know it all.
The Man with Two Brains, tonight at 9 on 5.
Remember Rochelle? Who could forget the husband who wasn't allowed to leave the table? They've been working on that, and Oprah is next after the latest from Zoe at the 5 News Centre.
1 o'clock, I'm Zoe Bird. Within the last hour, the millionaire publisher Lord Hamlin has revealed he donated the mystery £2 million to Labour. He gave the money just before new laws come into force which will require all big political payments to be made public. Rail passengers have been hit by more delays and cancellations today as the nation gets back to work. Railtrack had hoped its major repair programme would be finished by today, but the company failed to complete 2 major re-signalling projects on time.
Back to normal anyway, by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's the same. No different, no change at all. No change at all.
It is getting better, but very, very slowly.
There's more trouble at the Millennium Dome today. Former Tory Deputy Prime Minister Michael Heseltine says it's madness to sell off the attraction's content until a buyer is confirmed. There's also anger over reports that Dome bosses are in line for huge bonuses. Princess Margaret's mystery illness could soon be diagnosed. The Queen's sister became ill before Christmas and has been bedridden ever since. Medical test results are due in the next couple of days. Royal sources have dismissed reports she's suffering from depression. This afternoon's weather now, cloudy with showers across the country, temperatures between 8 and 10 degrees. Well, that's it. I'm back at 3:35.
Welcome to Fort Boyard.
It's that time of year when resolutions are made, and for this famous 5, it's no exception. For some, it's about conquering deep-rooted fears. Others just want to get fitter. And then there are those who need to cut down on the drink. At Fort Boyard, there's no escaping your resolutions.
It's the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Fort Boyard Celebrity Special, Friday at 7:55 on 5.
You know, I'd like to watch Channel 5, but I'm too busy saving the world. I hate that.
The first matinee today is based on the true story of a woman who faced a custody battle because she went out to work. Anne Archer stars in 40 Minutes.
Oh, big, big, big! I got a little chill. Know what day it is? Yeah, thank you. Oh, you're just happy because it's Tuesday. And it's Dr. Phil Day. I know. We are very excited about this show because I think you're going to see some dramatic changes take place right before your very eyes. Remember Rochelle? Yeah. Rochelle, you've become quite popular. She is the wife with the notebook who wanted to control everything about her husband, John. Now, everybody's applauding for John. Bless John's heart. Well, a lot of you identified with Rochelle. A lot of you said, oh, I'm not that bad, but a lot of you, really, the reason why you've hit such a nerve in the country, don't you think, Phil?
Oh, absolutely.
Is because people see themselves.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror.
Looking in a mirror, yes. Here's a little of what happened on the show about a month ago when we first met Rochelle and John.
I want you to stop holding your fork like that.
Why are you 40 years old and you hold your fork like this? I think that the changes that I make in John are for the better. No, you've had your limit today. You drink water. Honey,
I want a root beer.
you've had enough. Give me that. You have had enough soda today. Don't start fighting with me.
I feel like a 2-year-old going through her little boot camp.
I want the clothes to the right and the hangers to the left. So when you do laundry, it's all right there. John needs to make sure there's bananas, orange juice, and milk in the refrigerator at all times for me. I have a bunch of rules for John to follow. So right after we got married, I started a notebook for him to reference.
I think the notebook is out of line.
These are just a few of the highlights here. Don't sweat when you sleep. Fold your jeans in thirds and my jeans in half and in half again with the label on the outside, no creases, make them nice. Brush your teeth before bed and when you wake up and or before sex.
Your marriage is doomed if you continue this way. And I'll promise you, the time's going to come when he says, I've heard all of that I want, and he's going to find somebody that accepts him for who he is and tells him what he needs to hear, and he's going to dump you.
Honey, is that true?
I could see that happening.
Well, we realized after that show that Rochelle could use another dose of Dr. Phil, so to speak. We wanted to help her get real, Phil did, about her need to control before it destroys their marriage. So with the cameras rolling, Rochelle and Dr. Phil sat down and had a very emotional conversation. It was an intense talk that lasted 2 days, and here is just some of that.
What would happen if you abandoned the mindset that said there's my way and the highway?
Well, initially, I might feel like I was going to die.
Tell me why.
Well, because I would be giving up control. And I would be putting, myself in the hands of fate or whatever. And that's scary. I didn't think that. I mean, it's like the last 2 weeks I've been like, to an extreme. And I was like, this isn't working either. So it was frustrating, believe me, trying to make all these changes. Like, I got to change all this stuff. It's too much work. It's too hard. And, it's affecting me too much. And it's, I think it's working and I don't know. I was like to the point where, okay, now, I can't ask him to pass me this salt because that's controlling him. That's really, I was afraid of that.
Well, you know what? As you go through all of that, if you say something that maybe is controlling and shouldn't have been said, it's okay. I mean, the world is not going to fall off the axis because you aren't perfect in making these changes.
He just put a wet suitcase on carpet recently. And I didn't like that.
Yeah? And you know what? There's nothing wrong with not liking that. But you know what is wrong? Is if you respond to it in a way that creates a problem much worse than a wet spot on the carpet.
Yeah, believe me, I did that. And I was aware of it at the time, and I said, I know I'm yelling, but I feel I need to get this out. I was completely aware of it, and I allowed myself to continue to rant and rave about, the carpet.
But even if you say, hey, knucklehead, don't put this here. This is going to ruin our carpet. That's a whole lot different than making a big, huge deal out of, I'm going to bring you over here, stand you here like a 2-year-old child, and demean you until I have vented my rage and anger and you have paid penance to me because I am the keeper of all that is right and good. And if you think for a minute that he doesn't walk off thinking, I am so sick of listening to her, I could scream, then you are a fool.
I mean, if I would have told John, don't leave the suitcase outside, it would never have gotten wet. But I didn't, because I was like, oh, I'll be easygoing. He can put the suitcase anywhere he wants. And then he leaves it outside and it gets rained on. Because I didn't control where he put it.
You can't tell me you're proud of what you see in his eyes when you get through browbeating him. You proud of what you see in his eyes?
No, I did apologize right when I was done. Only after I was done. I had to finish. Then I said, I know, I apologize while I was yelling. I know I'm yelling and I shouldn't be yelling and I don't know, you know.
But when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And you choose the behavior of doing that. And when you do, you suffer the consequences of driving him away. And you may think, well, but we made up later that night and it was all sweet and kind and caring. Let me tell you something. When you wound somebody's soul, it takes a long time to heal. And it accumulates across time. And the day comes where the wheels come off and just one day he's not there anymore.
Some issues I can stop on. This issue, I did not.
You know why?
No.
Because you chose not to.
Well, right.
You chose not to.
I was completely aware of it, and I did choose not to. Why? Why did I make that choice?
You make that choice because you are serving another purpose with what you're doing. Your yelling and screaming and demeaning John did nothing to protect or preserve the carpet. What it did was vent your rage.
And we're all just trying to get clear. Is the rage really about the carpet? Is the rage really...
That issue, probably not, no.
No.
Well, it could be, you know, a little bit of my dad, you know, coming out because, well, you know how much that carpet cost and you would take better care of it and...
Okay. That was just...
My father used to wash the stones in the garden.
Your father?
The little white stones.
Yeah, this is your sister. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was just the beginning for Rochelle. Next, Dr. Phil makes a confession about himself that helps Rochelle get real. But first, we heard from many viewers who say that that first show that we did with Rochelle and John touched a nerve for them. Listen to this.
Good.
The show today really hit home. I, too, have tried and tried to change my husband into the man I want him to be.
We also have serious control issues in our relationship. I had an aha moment when Dr. Phil talked about the parent-child relationship.
In dysfunctional marriages, you often have a parent-child relationship where one occupies the parent role and the other occupies the child role. And that's exactly what you've got here.
Having Rochelle on certainly made me stop in my tracks and think about how I sound when I speak to my husband. I was horrified to think that the words that come out of my mouth may actually sound like hers.
Push that chair in.
Some of the exact comments Rochelle said are the same ones I've said to my own husband. I, too, keep a running list for my husband.
Turn off the water.
After seeing this show, I apologize to my husband for all the nagging I've done over the past 20 years of our marriage.
Thank you for doing the show that you did today. It absolutely opened my eyes to how controlling I really am. I do criticize my husband, Bill, and others way too much. We fight almost every night, just like John and Rochelle. And I realized, like Rochelle, I have to change.
See?
I feel good.
Well, thank you for sharing your stories, everybody.
For all the stories that have more to them than meets the eye, log on right now to icyshowbiz.com.
Darling, just look at these bills. There's just no way we can afford to go on holiday this year.
Oh, don't worry. Look, Sue next door was telling me about Norton Finance. They've arranged a loan to pay off all her debts and she's going on holiday tomorrow.
I know, but the bank's already turned us down for a loan.
It says here that shouldn't be a problem. Oh, let's give them a call. It is free.
Yes, at Norton Finance, our homeowner loans are for any purpose, and whatever your circumstances, we've got a plan to suit you. We can consolidate all your debts, credit cards and loans into one low monthly payment, which could leave you with that extra cash to spend on other things. So call us now free on 0800 929 100.
Hey, look, the check's arrived from Norton Finance.
That was quick. I'm glad you phoned.
Yeah, and they were really helpful. So we can have that holiday now.
So call Norton Finance now free on 0800 929 100. Lines are open 24 hours a day.
Have the best Christmas ever delivered direct to your door with Family Hampers.
Hello? Want to make Christmas 2001 really easy? With Family Hampers, you can spread the cost and save pounds. Choose from top brands, meat and poultry, beers, wine, toys, jewellery, even shopping vouchers, and earn up to 25% commission.
So call 0845 9800 120 now for your free 2001 catalogue. Family Hampers.
Much more than the bare necessities.
To find out if you could be better off with budget car insurance, call us now on 0800 247 247. Budget! 0800 247 247.
Any chance of another, Fiona?
Aye, Jackie, help yourself. Could you believe this lot? I'm not even open yet. They used to just make the deliveries and go. That's his third cup. I'd like to think it's the unique atmosphere I've created. However, I suspect it's these Scottish blend pyramid bags. You see, the leaves have lots of room to move around, so they release even more Scottish blend flavour. Off to work then, Vera. Cheers, Vera.
Pyramid bags. Our best cup of Scottish blend ever.
If you've been hurt in an accident in the last 3 years, you may be entitled to compensation. Like Keith Early.
Yeah, I was knocked off my bicycle while I was cycling round the roundabout. I phoned the National Accident Helpline, and they found me a specialist solicitor in my area, and I was awarded just over £6,000 in compensation. It was a no-win, no-fee claim.
Find out free if you can make a no-win, no-fee claim. Call the National Accident Helpline now on 0800 556 557.
So you want him to be excused from the table?
No, I just don't want him to leave the table when I'm still eating. And that is not right, and he shouldn't. And that's that. You don't leave the table when somebody's eating. That's rude.
So he has to be dismissed.
No, he can't leave until we're done eating. That's just the way it is. That's how I want in my household. That's how our family is going to have a nice life.
Yeah.
It is not funny. That is true.
Well, that sounds nice. Is that, I mean, seriously, is that
How would he like it if I left the table early? He wouldn't like it at all.
How do you feel about that, John?
I don't think I would really have too much of a problem with it.
Can't even believe this, Rochelle. I'm like, if you are fighting about who leaves the table first, how are you going to get through the really difficult things in life?
Yeah, but you can't leave. You don't leave the table. I don't mean you just get up getting salt. I'm saying leaving the room and you're still eating dinner. You don't do that. That'd be like me leaving first in a restaurant.
I don't believe it. It's not like he's leaving in the middle of having sex. Okay, so that was the last visit that we had with Rochelle and John. We're back with them now. It's a month later. That was a clip from the time they were here. Dr. Phil met privately, as I mentioned earlier, with Rochelle to help her begin to understand how her need to control. And really, really, this is just not to be a voyeur in Rochelle and John's life, but as many of you all indicated, is for you to see your own self through their lives. And a lot of you emailed us, called us, wrote to us, and let us know that you did. Well, this was ruining her marriage, obviously. She even made a confession about himself during their talk. Take a look. Phil did.
Do you want a sense of relief?
Yeah.
Do you want to stop being the keeper of the world? Why?
Well, because I guess it's pretty bad.
So what do you want?
I would like to learn how to choose battles and how not to let every little thing bother me and how to not make sure I make you understand my point clearly.
What I'm asking you to do is make a life decision. A life decision that says, I'm dropping out of the war. I'm dropping out of the war for perfection. I'm dropping out of the war for control. I'm through being a control freak. And I'm going to tell you something. It takes one to know one. I fought that battle. You can't win.
You were a control freak?
Very, very controlling.
Really?
Very controlling.
Well, that's good to know.
Wanted everything to be a certain way.
That's good to know.
Realized, you know, I'm not making any headway here. If you want to control something, control you. And control you to just turn the dial down.
You know, no one ever told me that, and no one ever taught me that. No one ever mentioned it to me. It never dawned on me. You know, I talked to my girlfriend on the phone, and she said, did you ever hear yourself talk? You do all the talking every time we talk on the phone, and you never listen to me. And I said, oh, okay. Thanks for telling me that. I'm going to listen to you now. And so now I listen to people when they talk to me on the telephone. So I do learn. I can learn. But I had never been told any of that stuff before.
So as you saw, there was a major topic that came up on our last show with Rochelle. It was about John leaving the table before Rochelle was finished eating it. Dr. Phil's conversation with Rochelle continued. It became clear why she's so sensitive about this issue. You will see a bing, bing, big breakthrough light bulb moment, as we call them, for Rochelle. Watch this.
What do you think would happen if you decided to not take personal everything that John, for example, doesn't do that you would want him to do in a perfect world?
I think that I will freak out just as bad when he leaves the table next time because I have a fear of abandonment. So I will be the first to leave. I will, if I have to, put more food on his plate so that he has to sit there longer to eat it so that I can get my butt out of that dining room first because there's no way he's going to leave me. I will leave first. That's my take on that.
Tell you what, we need to stop talking about John and start talking about you because you're not being genuine with me. This isn't about John and it isn't about him leaving the table. You are controlling things because of what's going on inside of you. So what is it? What is this that's making you control everything? And I don't want to talk about John. I don't want to talk about any examples. I want to talk about you because I thought you were being genuine with me and I'm now convinced that you're not.
I don't know what you mean.
What part of that did you not understand?
I don't know how you think I'm not being genuine.
You're controlling
right
because of something that's going on inside of you, and you're not being genuine about it. But if you want to change, you need to get real. And I don't care which. I mean, we can end this interview in the next 30 seconds. It's okay with me. It's just whatever you want to do.
Well, I want to change, but I don't think that I'm ever going to accept the fact if he leaves early.
We're not talking about him anymore. You violated rule number one. Rule number one is we're not going to put the attention on somebody else instead of you. Rochelle, are you telling me you want to end this interview?
No.
Because I'm not going to talk to you about John anymore.
Well, I don't.
You're using that as a duck and a dodge, and it's just come very clear to me that you're trying to con me, and I'm not going to play that game. So we're either going to talk real about you or we're not going to talk. You say there's some things that you can get beyond and some things that you can't. What can you not get beyond?
I would like John to speak politely and respectfully because when we have children, I want them to see that he respects their mother. And so if he's not thoughtful or considerate to me, I don't think I could get beyond that.
How'd you feel about the way your father spoke to your mother?
I didn't like that at all.
How did he speak to her?
He bossed her around, told her what to do. He made her lay out his clothes in the morning, and he made her make breakfast every day, and I hated that. And I said, I will not be submissive like that, and that's why I'm the way I am. So I went completely the opposite. She had to ask him for, like, money for milk and eggs every day. And I said, I will not have that kind of relationship. I will not pick out my husband's clothes, and I will not make him breakfast in the morning. And every day, he'd say, what's for breakfast? And she'd say, what do you want? And he'd say, I want 2 eggs over easy with toast. And he would sit there and eat this breakfast that she made for him, and they weren't even eating together. she would just serve him like a waitress, and that is what I will not do. And that is a really, really big revelation.
So your whole life is dedicated to being not that.
Exactly.
Where is your father now?
Dead.
How long has he been dead?
10 years.
Does it occur to you that 10 years after his death, from the grave, he is absolutely dictating, dominating, and controlling your relationship with John?
I am aware that I am the way I am because I don't want to be like my dad.
The point is, you are being exactly like your dad.
In a completely opposite way.
Well, are you controlling? Are you demanding? Are you condescending? And isn't that exactly what you're doing to the people in your life because you don't want to be? It's kind of like, I'm either going to control or be controlled.
Right.
And you've decided if those are the two choices,
then I'm in control.
There's hammers and nails, I'm going to be a hammer. That's the choice you've made.
Right.
Wow. I'm thinking that's huge. That's not a light bulb moment, that's a GE moment.
For growing kids today, this is what we say. Bassett soft and chewy vitamins, take one a day. They're tasty through and through, and big kids love them too. Bassett soft and chewy vitamins for me and you. Bassett soft and chewy vitamins, now they'll love to take their vitamins.
Are you fed up with internet phone bills? Then check out thefreeinternet.net, where for an annual fee of $89.99, you get unmetered access to the internet day or night. And no more internet phone bills. Yes, that's right. No more internet phone bills. Thefreeinternet.net. Check it out now. The Free Internet is a business online group company.
Right now at the MFI sale, you can get up to an extra 20% off sale prices. Make it yours for less.
Every day, thousands of people like you suffer some form of personal injury where they weren't to blame and so could be entitled to cash compensation. You might be out and about, at work, or in your car. The Accident Group specializes in personal injury compensation claims. It starts with one free phone call, and you could receive thousands of pounds in a lump sum cash payment. Call the Accident Group now, 0800 970 9000. Where there's blame, there's a claim.
If you haven't sent back your tax return, get in shape. Complete it yourself or send it to your tax advisor now.
Frustrating, isn't it? When you need an any-purpose loan but don't know who to talk to about unlocking the capital tied up in your property. Even if you're self-employed, consider yourself to have a low credit rating, divorced, or retired. Don't worry, because Ocean Finance hold the key. Call 0800 858 858 and Ocean could help you. Ocean loans can be used for any purpose, and all circumstances will be considered. You may wish to improve your home, or buy a newer car, or simply consolidate all your existing debts into just one manageable monthly payment. There are no interviews, no arrangement fees, and no salesperson will call. So for that homeowner loan, call now. You'll be under no obligation, and you could secure the loan you need. Call Ocean Finance now on 0800 858 858. That's 0800 858 858.
notebook, I have a list of rules that he needs to remember. He needs to make me dinner 4 to 5 nights a week. He needs to keep all the empty hangers together in the closet. I insist John keep the house locked at all times.
Well, that was Rochelle and John talking about the notebook of rules she made for him to follow. That was the last time she was here. She started a new notebook that we're going to talk about in a minute. But first, as Dr. Phil and Rochelle wrapped up their conversation, he explained how she could start letting go of her past before it is too late.
Because you understand that John is paying for all of your dad's bad behavior. Your dad's not here. You can't make him pay. And so here comes old John, just fat, dumb, and happy. And he just wades in there and just gets his ass tore plumb up. And he's saying, what happened? And it's because you bring all of this baggage with you to the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to do everything I'm doing to run from my past. I got to stay one step ahead of becoming my mother. I've got to stay one step to the side of being my father. Everything is dictated by what you don't want.
Right.
Instead of what you do want.
Right.
The past is over. The future hasn't happened yet. The only time for you is right now. And as long as you've got all those feelings towards your mom and dad, they're going to drive and dictate your relationship. I mean, don't you see that?
I do.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, it's just going to be, I can't answer that question in one sentence. It's going to take me a long time to change. I mean, I'm going to learn. I'm going to practice. I'm going to, I have to do everything to change that. I can't answer that question in one sentence.
What have you decided? Whatever my mother and father did, I'm just going to have to forgive them and let it go. People think forgiveness is a feeling. It's a choice. You can choose to forgive your father. He said, boy, I didn't like what you did. I didn't like how you were. But I'm going to turn it loose. It's over. And I'm going to choose to forgive you so I am free. So I can shut the door. You don't come in our house anymore.
Now I know that. And I didn't know that before.
It'll be interesting to see what you do with that knowledge.
Yeah, that's where we are right now. I think you need to say again for people, Phil, because when you say forgive, I think a lot of people have issues with their past. And I think people mean, here, when you hear forgiveness, you have this religious term in your mind that it means all is well, it's okay. And that's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I mean when I say forgive.
Good.
When I say forgive, I mean that you can make a choice to say, I'm no longer going to invest in that. I'm not going to be angry, bitter, frustrated. I'm not going to be filled with hatred anymore. I'm not saying what you did was okay.
Right.
And I'm not saying when I say forgive that all of a sudden you have a free pass.
Right.
I'm just telling you I won't stay locked in this bond with you anymore.
So you say forgive, you mean let it go. So
Let
that
it go.
you can move on with your life.
But it's more than just say, okay, I'm not going to think about it anymore. You've got to get emotional closure on it. You've got to say, okay, I'm not going to feel about this again tomorrow. And to do that, you have to withdraw your feelings. And sometimes they don't even know that they've transgressed against you. And you say, well, they don't even know. They're just home sleeping in bed. Well, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about you saying, I withdraw my feelings from that and make my own choices.
I think a lot of people see the way they were raised. To see if this is true for you. You see the way you were raised and you say, I don't want to be that. And then you go in the complete opposite direction. You see people do it with their kids all the time.
Sure.
Because they were yelled at or because they were abused, or because they had really strict parents. They go the complete opposite, so they become their parents in a different form.
Sure. And, Rochelle and I talked, it didn't make it to the tape, but she was just saying, we talked about the fact that what she's experiencing now is the pendulum swing. It's like I'm way over here controlling, and now I overcorrect, and I come way over here, and now I'm a doormat, and that's painful. And so you swing back to the side, and the idea is to let it settle in the middle and find some balance of assertiveness and acceptance at the same time.
As you heard, Rochelle said it was going to feel like she was dying to let go of control. That's very interesting, I thought. Isn't that interesting?
Sure. And that's tough. I mean, and for you...
That's true controlling.
Yeah, exactly. And why did it feel that way at that moment?
Well, I feel like I cringe inside when I give up control.
Because you fear what?
Everything's going to fall apart.
Yeah, unless you hold it together, right? That's a big job. I mean,
because you can't do that.
I was good at it.
That's right. No, you just thought you were good at it.
But she's been trying, and I have a list here of some examples of things she's let go of and not tried to control. She's been writing them down in a new notebook. She says, John put a shirt he wore out in public back in the closet to wear again. I didn't say a word. Although I prefer the shirt go in the laundry, it didn't really bother me to keep quiet about it. Is that true? Okay. I hate when John leaves the front door open. Looks like Hicksville. People can see inside our house and flies come inside. I don't bitch him out. Will an appropriate answer be a storm door and sufficient screens on windows, which he hates? What have you decided?
I don't want screens.
He leaves the door open. We have a beautiful brand new door we just installed, and he's like, it ruins the view. And my brother's like, it's a beautiful screen. He wants it off. I don't care. And you know what he'll put over it? Drapes. So now we won't even see the view.
But that's okay.
Yeah, he's fine, too.
I like this. John was twirling the phone cord like a child. I wanted him to stop, but I didn't say anything. I'm just thinking, if you're going on through life and the phone cord gets you going...
Well, because, you know, my dad would always say, quit twirling the cord. So, I mean, I was aware of it now, you know, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's my dad wants to speak, and I didn't say anything.
So she's living her, you're right, living that dad thing over and over. It's like he's, you know, come out of the grave.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When you have a relationship that's been as well-defined as what the two of you have created, you have to actively redefine a new relationship. Or if you just leave it in a vacuum, you'll go back to what you were doing.
What were you saying that didn't get on tape? That he said
Dr. Phil said to trust John enough that he is not my father. And when he said that, I was like, okay, that made a lot of sense.
Because you've been being your father. You've taken on your father role.
Well, I wanted to make sure, you know, I wanted to make sure that, yeah, he wasn't going to treat me like my father treated my mother.
So you treated him like your father treated your mother?
Well,
the best
kind of an
defense
opposite
is an offense.
way.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the best defense is an offense. If you don't want somebody to control you, take control.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there you have it.
Well, we've been following up with our very memorable couple from a month ago, Rochelle and John. Dr. Phil spent hours, as you've seen, with Rochelle to help her make changes, and now it's John's turn to get real with Dr. Phil. Because he's just been sort of sitting passively by. Rochelle said this is the very first time she was here. You know, she'd heard you say on other shows, you teach people how to treat you. So part of it is he's allowed it to happen because he's taught her that this is okay.
Yeah. And, you know, you talked about the fact that families get dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And John, you've got to see your ownership in this situation, do you not?
Oh, sure.
I mean, what we have here is someone that is predisposed to being controlling and someone that's predisposed to being passive. And so you play into each other's weak points and bring out at toxic levels what each other is doing. Now, you know, what do you think about that?
Well,
What's your role in all of this?
Coping or what is it that I do to cope with it?
Say again, how long were they married? How long have you been married?
A year.
Just a year, okay. I thought that'd be a key point for y'all.
Hey, it's good.
I'm here to serve. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what I'm asking you here is in looking back, because your life has been examined, correct? I mean, we've come in and examined your life. And I'm just asking you, as you look at this go by, what's your ownership in it? Because people are sitting out around America wondering, what the hell are you thinking? Why are you sitting around allowing this to go on? You're cheating her when you do it. So that's my question. What the hell are you thinking?
Well, Rochelle is very powerful. And to try and head on with her, I'm not going to go there. You know, I have better results. I feel I have better results by just trying to put things in a day-to-day basis and not dwell on what we've done if we've had a bad day. the next day. It works for me. But maybe that's doing something to Rochelle, and maybe that's allowing her to continue with what she's doing.
Well, my question is, what part of you, I mean, all the things that Phil was saying to Rochelle on the tape about what happens when she's saying those things to you and she looks into your eyes and does she like what you see? What happens to you, your spirit, who you see yourself being when you're in these kinds of confrontations with her? I mean, don't you feel like you lose yourself?
I try and I pull myself out of it, and I just sit there and I let her go. And
and let me just say something. You have just made probably the most dangerous statement I have heard for this whole relationship. Because what you have said is when she rears up, I check out. And let me tell you,
I pull myself out of it.
That's right. You just check out. And when you tell me...
there's lots of husbands around America doing that now.
Yeah, well, that's right.
And so the woman is sitting there, and he is gone someplace else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all you're hearing, it's like the teacher in the Peanuts cartoon.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah,
right.
And all of that. And I'm just saying, but you can't tell me, even with the checking out, that it doesn't affect you when you turn around and put that root beer back in the refrigerator. Because no man's going to tell me that when he turns on his heel because some woman told him to put a root beer back, that that's okay.
it's not okay. I get angry.
It's not even almost okay, is it?
No. No.
And what does that do to you cumulatively across time?
I'm sure that it wears on me. You know, I'm sure that I've got a lot of things that I don't realize I'm keeping inside.
How do you feel when I go like this?
It's embarrassing. Sometimes she's very embarrassing. But there's also perks. You know, I don't have to worry about returning anything to a department store. I just hand it to her and it will be done.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't think John's getting real. Do you think John's getting real? I mean, I can't.
He accepts me. You know, I mean, he's really healthy.
Well, you know, I think...
Well, maybe that's because it's the first year.
Okay. Yeah, I think...
Yeah, okay, let Phil speak.
Tell you a little coke... Oh, I'm sorry.
I tell you what I think's going on is I think you have adopted a philosophy of peace at any price.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, it's just easier not to. It is easier not to bring it up because if I ratchet up this much, she goes that much. If I go this much, she goes that much. And she has trained you just like you train a dog that you do what you're told when you're told, because if you don't, the price gets really high. We're not trying to talk you into having a problem that you don't have. Because if you're sitting there saying, hey, look, I'm fine, and I'm saying, I don't believe you're fine, when you turn around to put a root beer back in the refrigerator, don't tell me you feel fine, because I don't believe it. When you're in there reading through a list, what you're doing right now is you're just kind of white-knuckling through it.
Peace at any price, you were saying.
Just peace at any price. And the problem is it accumulates. And I'm telling you, you are cheating your wife out of a chance for this marriage to work if you don't stand up and be a man. That's what I'm telling you, because, you know... It's people that kind of silently suffer. They're the ones that blow all at one time.
Yeah.
You don't hear people going postal that were like screaming up and down the street. They always say, oh, you know, this guy was really nice and quiet, and then all of a sudden he just blew up. The important thing that I want you to understand here is that relationships are managed. They're not cured. We haven't cured anything with you. We haven't cured anything with this relationship. You manage it, and it's a partnership. And John, you got a job here. You've got a job, and your job is you've got to be a good steward of what she is now doing, which is to give up control. Your pendulum can swing the other way, and you can get over controlling.
Oh, yeah, he's been controlling me now.
Yeah, and so that can swing the other way, or you can start being real passive and draw that back out in her, and you can't do that. I want you to look at Rochelle after seeing these tapes, and I want you to tell her what it means to you that she's gone to all of this trouble and all of this challenge to try to make this relationship better.
Sweetheart, it just makes me feel that you love me enough to change. and for the first time in your life. And that says a lot.
You get a big hug for that, Rochelle, really. Ah, good girl. Well, like half the couples in America, Lori and Dennis LeClaire's marriage ended in divorce. Not half. Is it 57.7?
57.7.
The divorce rate. She was just too controlling, but then something remarkable happened. Lori had a revelation that helped her let go.
When Dennis and I were married the first time, I had lots of control issues. Some examples would include that I didn't like football, and so I would do all kinds of underhanded things to have him not watch football. Things like rolling my eyes and harumphing and just saying football is stupid. And if he would not do what I wanted, if he would not stay and talk about it, then I would sit on him when he was on the couch so that he wouldn't run away. Or sometimes I would even go into the bathroom when he was taking a shower, rip the shower curtain back and say, "We have to talk." How invasive. I just thought I was doing what was best for our relationship.
After we were in a relationship for a while, I found that she started controlling my life just like she controlled her own. And those little things started adding up. After a while, it became character assassination and just became an issue that was insurmountable. I kept changing and adjusting my character to fit what she thought was important. And that really was the breaking point for me. I needed to get out of the relationship.
I received our divorce papers on what would have been our 5th wedding anniversary. And it was such a blow. I was totally devastated. And it was the cosmic 2x4 I needed to make me see that I might have had a hand in that. I recognized that I'm the person that needed to change. Without someone to control, I felt like my life was worthless. So I actually did contemplate suicide. And that was an even deeper turning point, I think, for me. I went to counseling and found out that I did have some real deep-seated control issues. And one of the very wonderful gifts that I got was to be in relationship with a man who was even more controlling than I, and would tell me how to run my household and would tell me how to eat. And Dennis also had the opportunity to be in relationship with a woman who was quite passive, as he had been in our relationship. And we would call each other and talk about the fact that, oh my goodness, I had no idea about how it felt for you. And I apologized many times over because it felt so horrible.
When we were divorced, Lori and I stayed in contact.
We went to movies, we went to church together, we went on a ski trip, and decided to just start dating each other exclusively again.
So after being together for a while, Lori and I decided that we would remarry.
Recently, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary of our second marriage. In our first marriage, I was very much the parent, and Dennis played more the child role. And so one of the ways that our relationship is different now is that it's balanced out, and I love to play now.
Now, those times when I want to watch football, Lori will bring me popcorn or in some way show me that she is in sync with that.
When he says he wants space, then I can honor that. And instead of saying things like, well, that's stupid, now I can say, oh, well, that's interesting and that's different. My feelings towards Dennis are no longer rooted in fear and inadequacy. Now our love is much richer and deeper and much more supportive, and it enriches our spirit on a daily basis.
Well, Rochelle's mother and sisters are here, and Dr. Phil is going to work with them also as we continue to follow Rochelle's story. I'm hoping that those of you who are watching today